It's a show that is counting down to the schedule release. I love schedule release week.
Yeah, and I don't trust leakers.
No.
I don't trust them.
don't?
No.
No, I don't trust them. I need the official
I'm an official
sourcing.
guy.
Whatever helps you get excited about the shit.
Yeah, I'm an official guy.
Yeah.
I don't need oh, did I see the Patriots schedule?
You saw a
Did I
version
believe
of
it? No.
Exactly right.
No way. Official.
Exactly right.
That's what I like.
Even though it's probably 100%.
Now, did I or did I not buy a ticket to Brazil for the first weekend of the year? Maybe.
Well, that's just for.
So I just know a game's being played there. I don't know who.
I don't know. But we're starting with a battle in OKC. Joker had 44 and 15, but it wasn't enough. SGA poured in 31. Lou Dort hit 3 straight threes in the fourth that erased a Denver lead and gave the Thunder a 3-2 series lead. You don't like that?
I don't like the follow-up. How confident are you that you're going to win the next game? I'll be honest with you, man. I think we're cooked. This was our chance. And, I actually have non-refundable plane tickets to Bermuda.
I said goodbye to everybody.
Yeah,
I
mean, I'm not trying to pick on the work in media. That's just a tough.
No, you are right.
That's a weird
What's
one,
he going to say?
Yeah. Biggest takeaway from Game 5, bro?
I do have several takeaways. One, you guys know all year or half the year or whatever, I've been talking about how OKC, because of their youth, have to take their lumps, go through some things. This is what I'm talking about. Now, this isn't a lump. This was a victory. But the tension that they have experienced in these playoffs, some last year, more this year, these are the growing pains I'm talking about. Now, maybe they'll grow to the point where they win it this year, but these are things that are necessary. That win last night was far more valuable than the 40-point win in Game 2. That was a gut check win. The first 3 games of this series, they were outscored in the fourth quarters. Game 2 didn't matter. That was a blowout. But that's why they lost games 1 and 3, where they had controlled most of the game, and then Denver outplayed them in the fourth. The last 2 games, they have outplayed Denver. In fact, outscored them by 26 points in the last 2
big
fourth
deficits in both fourth quarters.
Yes. Yeah. So they are growing right before our eyes. That's number one. Number two, I don't want to – Jokic was phenomenal. I mean, that was incredible. I don't want to hear anything, though, about his teammates not helping him out. Now, they were 1 for 15 in the fourth combined. They didn't give him help. But they have been – Carrion's too strong because he's still their best player and obviously put up numbers. But they have really, for lack of a better term, carried him the last 3 games as he has not been himself and shot 33% from the floor. So what Denver has to do is find out how they can get Jokic and the other guys, or at least most of them, to have their A or B games together. That's how they can win. And, Nick, the depth is a huge thing. So that's the difference.
Listen, they have, in back-to-back games, they have run out of gas.
Yeah.
And I understand your point, Brew, that Joker had, the 44 and 20 in, a remarkable game earlier than this series. And aside from that, hadn't been playing up to his standard. But the fourth quarter last night, he was let down by his teammates. I mean, that is egregious.
No, they were right. I'm just saying for the series.
No, for the series in general. And listen, I think Russ, these playoffs, has been objectively good for them until these last 2 games when he and Michael Porter Jr., in what were their 2 biggest moments of the season, it's not just Russ, we can show it to you, he and MPJ, I mean, this is games 4 and 5. They are combined giving you 7.5 points on 15% from the field and 2 of 22, 9% from 3.
Not great.
And what makes it so much more damaging is these are games that are in the balance. Yep. You know what I mean? It's not a blowout. And I said after Game 2 that the Thunder have the ability to blow out the Nuggets. The Nuggets don't have the ability to blow out the Thunder. That the Thunder's path is to win win 3 of the 5 close games and, get blown, or I guess 4 of the 6 close games get blown out once would be their hope. And you're seeing it in real time because the minutes played in this game, it's a remarkable amount of faith that was justified by Daigneault in his depth. They didn't have a player play more than 38 minutes.
Right.
They only had 2 players play more than 34 minutes. They got off their bench 23, 11, 18, 11. Those are minutes, not points, which is why at the beginning of the fourth, when even though the Nuggets had the lead, Adelman felt like, I can't take Joker out. Shea is sitting. Dort stretch is huge. Yeah. And then at the end, like I thought, Joker made that amazing shot. I just said it might have been the shot of the year. And I thought Joker was really good in the fourth, despite the fact that not only was he gassed, he seemed, even by his standards, to be doing a lot of extracurricular, weird, try to draw a foul by like lurching into a guy or hooking an arm. And I think that was partially because trying to get to the free throw line and partially for the stoppages. Like, you know what I mean? Like, as many rest breaks as we can get. And so, listen, I still think it's I said yesterday, whoever won Game 5, I think is going to lose Game 6. So I think we're going to get a 7th game. But it is going to take a Joker masterpiece and some other stuff for them to have enough in the tank to beat this team.
Brew, can I show you this stat from Josh about having Joker score too many points? So every time he scores high, well, mid 40s, 53. Last night he had 44. They lost. First game, what do you have? 40 even?
42, I think
42.
it was.
Yeah, so
42
so cut
and
out,
20.
cut out. 42 is good. 43 is bad.
Yeah.
So, Brew, what does a masterpiece for Game 6 look like?
34, 35, and double-digit assists. Like, that's much better. Look, obviously those are great games by Jokic. You're not killing him for what he did last night by any stretch. But they are better when he's getting in the 30s and a ton of assists.
Yep.
Because that means, and some of that's just
guys make shots, and you don't get assists
right?
on a missed
You had the
shot.
graphic about Westbrook and Porter Jr. If they're hitting shots, he may have 9 assists last night or more. And so that's why I said, they got to get all the guys playing well together. And I mean all the guys, because as you said it, OKC's going 10 deep. Denver had 3 guys play over 40 minutes. For the series, Jokic and Murray are both averaging 41 minutes. OKC doesn't have a guy averaging 40 minutes. They only got 2 guys averaging 35 or more.
Denver only wants to play 6 guys.
Yeah.
The only reason you got real minutes from Watson and Strother yesterday was because Michael Porter Jr. was struggling so much and has been these last couple games. I understand what that graphic shows. I think for them to win, they are going to need, for them to win the next 2, they are going to need at least one more Joker 40-point game. Because they didn't lose last night because Joker's doing too much scoring. They lost last night because they needed all 44 of those points and a couple of those generated open threes to go down. And I didn't include Christian Braun in that graphic earlier, but the last 2 games from Christian Braun, he also has struggled, and I think he was 3 of 11 and 3 of 12 over those 2, not quite as bad as the other guys. The reality is, in this series, for the totality of the series, the only Nugget who has played better than you could have hoped for is Aaron Gordon. Joker has had 2 awesome games, 2 bad games by his standards, and 1 fine game. And then Jamal Murray's been right around where you would expect him to be overall. But Brown hasn't been good. Porter Jr. and Russ have gone ice cold. And you're not going to get anything off your bench other than that.
And they need Murray does have to be better. Like, remember, he's playing well. When they won the championship, he was a superstar.
Correct.
And they need him to play at that level.
And last night, 28 for Jamal, but on 27 shots, which is
he even admitted he needs to play better.
Right, Game 6 Thursday in Denver. Meanwhile, in Cleveland, the Cavs were home and are headed home. Halliburton 31 eliminates the number 1 seeded Cavs, who won 64 games this year. Pacers win 3 games in the land, headed to their 2nd straight Eastern Conference Finals. Okay, Brew, your number 1 takeaway.
Don't you dare.
You called it.
Hold up.
You did call it. You did call it.
Don't let him.
See, this is not an act.
Brew.
It is a fact of my life.
I understand.
I am from Naptown.
True.
You picked the Cavs to go to the finals.
Well, I'm from Cleveland, too.
Well, but that's it.
Why is it a trip when I claim my hometown? When you claim the Chiefs, there's no question.
Yeah,
you
like,
claimed Sacramento a few years ago because your wife's family's from there.
Yes.
No question.
But
when you claim New England, no question.
I'm not questioning.
I had to bring proof. I cut my teeth as a young star athlete in Indianapolis.
Why are you
Fourth
questioning?
grade, my first year of basketball.
You got to bring that hair back, bro.
I had the best afro in America in 1977. All right? But it wasn't just hoop.
Bro, there's more.
It's more. I was a football star.
Who knew that?
In Indianapolis, baby.
No clubs.
And again, the best afro in the country.
Bro,
all right?
I'm not doubting.
But I was a multi-sport star. I was on the diamond, baby.
Where did you
get these? And I was a Red Sox.
Yeah.
So I am
too.
Naptown through and through.
Yeah, so you can't question.
I'm not questioning where you're from. I'm questioning your analysis. You, before the series, picked Cleveland to win this series and go to the finals. You're now dusting your shoulders over them getting gentlemen's swept. It seems unfair.
No, what's unfair was Darius Garland's toe.
Oh, he missed one game.
Was Evan. No, he missed two.
Oh, he missed two.
Garland missed two.
Sorry.
And before the series, I get it, he was out in the first round. We all thought Garland was going to play.
This is shameless.
Right? We all thought he was going to play. I just couldn't lose in this series.
Yeah,
good for you, buddy.
You're right.
I mean, it's so
think you nailed it.
Naptown.
Okay.
We here, baby, and I'm telling you.
We're going to Indy.
Quickly, they remind me somewhat of the Thunder. Like, this is the era, Nick. We're in the era of the teams. Like, in the 70s, you had 8 teams win championships, right? Then, Magic and Bird dominate. Then Jordan dominate. Yeah, and dynasties. And now, this will be, assuming Boston loses, but this will be the 7th straight year we got a different champion.
And nobody even coming close to defending their title.
Right. Not even getting to the conference finals.
Correct.
And they remind me of OKC because they both, Ty Halliburton isn't as good as SGA. But I think he's a star, and maybe he'll become more than that. But he's great. Your second guy is kind of Siakam, and I think Jalen Williams are similar level of play, good. They go 10 deep, just like OKC.
They're deep.
They're not playing the huge minutes either. Their guys are in the 30-minute, mid-30s. And, they don't play the defense.
No, but I was going to say, playing them is unlike any other team on your schedule. Playing OKC is like that because every single guy they put out on the court can defend, and they can have a 5-man bench unit on there if you're OKC, and it's like all these guys can defend. Playing them is different because they're like, what if we just played as if the shot clock was 8 seconds? You know what I mean? And that we are going against all of the conventional wisdom, which is the game slows down in the playoffs. Like, not for us. And you saw it last night where Donovan was gassed. Donovan missed 3 straight free throws. Like, the Cavs were absolutely gassed. By the way, from a statistical perspective, Donovan missing 3 straight free throws, less likely than the Mavs winning the lottery, so I'm sure that was rigged too, guys. I am not dismissing them either, and I think Halliburton deserves a ton of credit. I do think, though, because they keep going, we're going to get more time to talk about Indy. I want to talk about Cleveland for a second. Because you can't run it back. You can't expect, it to be different. You do have right now a massive opening in the Eastern Conference because Giannis might be on the move, and Tatum, sadly, we now know what we feared yesterday, which is torn Achilles, which means probably means next year's gone. And
even if New York were even to win the championship, nobody's looking at them like, we can't beat them.
Right, and I give New York a ton of credit, but it's still, one team you're talking about in the East as opposed to 10 in the West.
Absolutely.
And their starting small forward, much like their previous starting small forward when they were down 3-1, sent a group text along the lines of, if you don't think we can do it, don't get on the plane. Now, the previous small forward responded to that by himself having the greatest 3-game stretch in the history of the league. This small forward responded to it by going 0 for 9 and scoring 0 points. Sorry, Max Strus. It is what it is.
Thought was in the right. Heart was in the right.
Right.
Yeah.
So which I say this. Just go home, Bron.
I mean, it's interesting.
It's from the area. It's year 23. No one can say he's front running. They haven't, in the entirety that the Cavs have existed, they've never been past round 2, except for when he's been there and they've lived in the finals. There was a lot of, chatter this year. Is this the best Cavs team ever? Is this the most fun Cavs season ever? How fun is it now? How fun was, and by the way, it happened like this. They won their first round series by more points than any team in the history of the league.
They looked like they were going to win the East.
And Donovan, who made, there you go, who made, I think, even in defeat, a compelling club superstar case, is now on this very weird streak of every year he's been in the league, he's been in the playoffs, and every year it's ended before the conference finals. It can only happen if Bron is willing to play for close to nothing. But
because Cleveland can't even trade.
No,
they can't aggregate.
No, so it would really just have to be him being like, you know what? I did my job in LA. I brought them a championship and helped them get the player that they then used to get the next, the next iteration of Laker basketball. No one can say I gave them 7 years, more than I think anyone realistically expected. And I think as great as Luka is, I think Bron has a better chance of winning a championship playing with the Cavs. Not because the Cavs would necessarily be better, but because they would have to win 2 tough rounds in the playoffs, the conference finals and the NBA finals. And the Lakers, the West is just so deep and so hard.
Look, if LeBron went back there, I don't see this happening. I don't see LeBron going for the minimum. I don't see him leaving the Lakers. But if it did, and they didn't have to lose Mobley, if the Cavs could aggregate players and trade, say, Garland and Mobley for LeBron, I wouldn't do that.
No,
I would not do that.
No, because he's
the
41.
Lakers, I would do that.
Of course.
That'd be great.
No, but he's 40.
Luka.
I'm talking about LeBron opting out
LeBron,
and signing there.
They would be easily, to me, the favorite in the East.
Yeah.
Easily. Because they're still, and again, the injuries aren't an excuse because guys were back. I think Indiana would have won this the way it's looking anyway. But put LeBron in there,
in
a guy
place
that
of
won't
Max Strus.
melt down like some of these guys did. He brings them more toughness. They're not a tough team, which is odd for Cleveland. Cleveland's a tough city. They're not a tough team. He would bring some toughness.
They don't need Bron in the regular season. He could.
Well, he's going to play, though.
No, he's going to play, but my point is he maybe can keep it closer in third gear if you're not fighting for, seeding or stay out of the play-in or all that stuff because they just won 64 games.
And the fact that now he's playing, it used to be a fear of, if LeBron comes in, everything's got to change. Not anymore. He showed he can play off the ball with Luka. He could let Donovan still be the guy and play.
Brew, you're so good at TV and analyzing basketball. You're like, I don't think this is going to happen. Boom, boom. They're not tough. They're not tough.
Yeah.
It'd be great. And he'd have a legitimate chance at
a fifth round.
There's no doubt.
There's a legitimate chance and one of the coolest.
I just don't think he's taking the minimum.
Just one of the coolest storylines ever in sports.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say ever because he's done it. That was the cool one.
Well, yeah, but if he did it,
it'd be nice, but. Yeah, I mean, the first one was the one.
All right, finally, let's head to Boston, where the Celtics are favored by almost 5, even though they'll be without Jason Tatum, who had Achilles surgery yesterday. Celtics were 8-2 without Tatum this year, but most of those games were against non-playoff teams. And the Knicks, of course, won both games in Boston already in this playoff. So are you surprised that New York are the underdogs?
No, I'm not surprised because America's been listening to folks like Kevin Wildes who just say the Knicks are lucky frauds. And is tweeting out
2 normal games.
And
1-1.
Right, exactly right.
1-1.
You're right.
You just threw out games 1 and 2.
Two normal games.
No, that's
in normal games are 1-1.
So that's fine. And so even by that analysis, if the teams in 2 normal games were 1-1, and now one of those teams is without their best player by a lot, you would think,
game.
Hold on. But Wildes, Brew, you don't follow him on Twitter. He's tweeting out clips not about this game, but about this series from the 04 Red Sox, saying who was it talking in the clip?
Kevin Millar.
Kevin Millar saying, don't let us win, don't let us get one. Well, they already got one, Wildes.
We're already ahead of schedule.
And so, listen, Wildes still thinks Boston's going to win this series.
I'm not sure they're going to win the series.
Okay, I'm glad you're not sure.
But the idea that everyone's like, well, the Knicks are just moving on, I don't think that's fair for a few reasons. One, just in general, if they give out an award for the best bench player called the Sixth Player of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, Celtics have that. So automatically, if you had to pick all the teams, boom, we take that. Two, the one thing that I like Jason Tatum, the ball has stuck. Even when Tatum gets hot, the ball sticks with Tatum. So I think tonight, my prediction is less isolation. This postseason, passes, the Celtics are last. Assists, second to last. ISOs, first. Dribbles, I don't even know what this stat is.
Dribbles per touch.
Dribbles per touch, that's 2 points. That's Harden-esque. It's too many. So less pounding the ball. I think the ball is going to move around a little bit. It's going to be less superstar Tatum focused and add a little bit of a Jaylen Brown game, a little bit of a Derek White game, Porzingis, a little extra dose of
I hope you got your talks through.
Porzingis. Well, look.
5.5. I'm not the only person. It's 4.5.
Yeah. I actually think there's a good chance Boston wins tonight.
Okay.
And then the Knicks close them out in 6. They could, they want to rally behind Tatum being injured.
A little bit of that?
The Knicks subconsciously,
sure.
maybe
the
there's
Celtics obviously
like
can win tonight.
Take a breath.
Yeah,
but
so
I guess, can I just button it with this? You seem, I feel like, more optimistic. This is not an anti-Tatum thing. But if the Celtics had lost Game 4 the way it was looking like they were going to lose,
yes,
and Tatum hadn't been hurt, and it was they just lost, and the story yesterday was not where we're really focused on the injury, it was the Celtics blew it again. Another big lead. The Knicks walked them down. This time, they didn't take a one-pointer overtime. They beat them by a lot.
Yeah.
I think the whole analysis today would be, the Knicks have proven they can overcome the big deficits, and clearly they're the better team in the clutch. So I feel like you feel almost with more optimism post-injury than we would have been in the alternate universe where they lose that game the way it looked like they were going to lose with 3 minutes left.
I just never like when you write a team off.
I'm not writing them off for the game.
No, I'm not saying you, but
fairly written off for the series. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.